part where it used to be has been repealed. I forget the year that Ross shared with me. So we don't even know if it is possible, but I do want the board to know that we do take civics very seriously. We do teach it to our students and we do expect them to be proficient. And you're more than welcome to come to any government class. We're in the second semester of government right now with the 4x4 schedule. And you can ask me any question you want about anything you think they should know. And my money is on them to be proficient in that. So, Mr. Pagano, that's pretty much a summary of what I have. I have a lot more information I can share with the board. But we've done preliminary research related to it. So it would also involve some public review if we did go forward with an additional graduation requirement. We would have to think of a lot of different things. We have certain students on certain diploma tracks in which it may not be appropriate for if you did go down that. So, I mean, there are lots of layers to it. It's not as simple as just putting in a test and moving forward. So be happy to answer any questions. I do have my resident expert in attendance, so I can always defer to him.
Does anybody have any questions or comments,
I'm
please?
curious, do they even look at anything like, you know, a civics test? Like I remember when I became an American citizen, you know, I had to study and take that test.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do they have anything like that?
Yeah, our
that
students
they
do
look at?
something very similar, but in that test and the way it's constructed is it's sort of randomized in the questions you get, and it is the
Oh.
so I've shared to constituents and to board members that we do that in government currently, and the feedback I received is it may not be rigorous enough in the way that
Okay.
test is constructed, but that is just one piece
Right.
of what we do. But yes,
But not every high school student takes government.
every high school
Oh,
student,
they do.
well, most 99% of high school students
Even
have to
whatever
take
track they're on.
advanced to
right.
standard diploma. Yes, ma'am. Government is a graduation
That's
requirement,
great.
as is civics and economics in eighth grade. You have
Eighth
to take
grade.
that course too. So, and then all of the civic strands from kindergarten.
Mhm.
You know, kindergarten we start learning about community helpers all the way through branches of government, and so on and so forth. So,
Yeah.
Do you have, sorry, Mr. Chair?
Please, work session, please just talk.
Okay, do you have kind of an estimated timeline as to when you think you'll hear back from the VDOE on that inquiry?
of whether it's even permissible to, we've been kind of shipped around a little bit. So we're waiting on the second or third person to, there's quite a bit of turnover there. So the keeper of the knowledge is not necessarily there anymore. So we're trying to get to the next person and make sure we give you an answer. So that feedback we got was just from today. So as soon as we have it, I'll be happy to share with the board.
You'll just email us.
Yeah, I can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would recommend that we not move forward or do anything with this until we hear back from the Virginia Department of Education. We may be in a long drawn out discussion and or making plans that in fact are not going to happen because they're not legal. The second thing is, and we'll ask Mr. Reimer when he gets back, I believe that this was predicated on the understanding or misunderstanding that our students aren't graduating with a full understanding of the Constitution and or proper history. And with less pride in our country and such and so forth. And if I just, before we move on, I want to hear what is the catalyst behind changing our civics to whatever I haven't seen, or the specifics. What would be the impetus behind making this change? And I'm guessing from what I'm hearing, we'd have to ask for an exception from the VDOE in order to make this happen anyway, because it's not in place.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah, for the state, it is assumed underneath government that the civics piece is
Right. Right.
part of that piece.
So I'm just curious, and I would like to have that answered before we move ahead with
One of
this.
the questions, Mr. Vaught, I completely agree that I often say, and I'll probably say, if what problem are we trying to solve?
Yes, exactly. I don't
and-
know what that is.
So, and there may be a national narrative around civics and civic and pride and country, but
Right.
I mean, you all just came from our Veterans Day Assembly. You'll find very few people that do that across every, like, there's great pride in county, there's great pride in country in New Kent, and we take that very seriously, across all grade levels. So, and like I said, I mean, you come hang out with us in government, and, Ms. Cooney, Ms. Nebraska have been with our government kids a couple times in some roundtable situations, and, they ask a lot of questions to county leaders and kind of hold everybody to task on. So,
Well, yeah, and there's a scripture that says, don't worry about tomorrow, it has troubles of its own. I think we should probably, that's a good bit of wisdom. And I would just like to know, what problem are we trying to solve?
Yeah, I was impressed when we were at the at Quinton Elementary not too long ago.
yes,
And the secretary came and read to the students as part of Reading Revolution for the 250 celebration. And were they third and fourth graders?
oh, that we're, yes, we're up at fourth.
I was blown away that some of the answers that these students gave. And honestly, I was like, I felt so proud and so happy
Sure.
that they were able to answer questions that some adults can't even answer.
One of them.
So
they
that was a
answered-
good sign. I was very, very impressed.
They
What?
asked good questions
Yeah,
too.
I'm sorry, one of the students answered, she goes, nobody has been able to answer this yet, on her tour. I forget which specific question it was, but that's a good point. I
There
forgot
were there were some very
Yeah,
hard questions that they were able to answer, and they were so enthusiastic.
So that's coming from somewhere.
Yes,
So
and
it's
and-
not, I mean, that didn't sound broken to me.
right. And what's impressive is that's at the elementary school level.
Right.
That's the foundation. So if they're already getting that strong foundation, I would assume, right, that once they get to middle school and eighth grade, I taught sixth grade social studies. We did some, government founding documents, etc. But by eighth grade, that's the indication. If they're not scoring well, perhaps if we look at that and we're seeing that their scores are abysmal, then maybe there's some justification. But we'd really have to dive in and really, is it really a problem?
Right.
Yes. Thank you.
yeah, so just a real quick, Citizen Economics covers the roles of citizens in U.S. political and economic systems, includes foundational principles of the U.S. and Virginia constitutions, citizen rights and responsibilities, and the structure of government at the local, state, and national levels. That's a summary of what your eighth grade year is.
Yeah. And I mean, really, one of the main things is making sure that they do have access to primary sources, right? Primary documents and all that, and they can analyze these documents, etc. But that's sticking
For
in.
those of you who don't know, in this eighth grade civics and economics class, we are part of the lesson.
Yeah.
They put the school board up, they put our pictures up, they talk about us,
That's great.
That's scary.
especially when two of my daughters are in the class.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
frightening.
so you asked them? That's
But they
wonderful.
tell me, Dad, you were up on the
Ah.
thing today. I'm like, what are you talking about? But yeah, so they are doing, at
Yeah.
the eighth grade level.
Can I share
Uh,
something? I hope it doesn't get anybody into trouble, but last week, I think it was actually on Veterans Day, I received a call from New Kent Middle School. I answered it. It was one of the government teachers. We didn't think anybody would answer. We were talking about our local government, thought we'd reach out and say thank you to.
And then who to call?
I got that call too. I thought it was a junk call.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, I
Then I
really,
get a text from my daughter, Dad, answer the phone. I'm in court.
right?
How dare you not answer the phone, Dad?
Right.
Well, I
It was
think,
fun to hear. I'm just all excited,
I think if we can nail down the problem, and if the problem is, the same test that you took, the citizens test or
Long
whatever.
time ago.
Well, but no,
Yeah,
I'm
It's
saying,
something like it.
it has
Yeah.
flashcards. It comes in a pack that's about half the size of the bottle.
I remember I had to
Um,
study.
And if somebody's concerned about that, then we'll make those available, but not not changing the curriculum. Make those available for those who wanna, who wanna dive deep
We
or
might even
deeper.
be
I
able
don't
to
know.
have fun with it. Maybe even just
Sure.
have a fun contest or whatever, incorporated somehow. I don't know, without it
Yeah.
being a
Or,
requirement. but
or not.
we'll see.
We could just leave it alone.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna chime in here. I think we all know that this comes from a certain group of constituents that are very well intended. I think the concept is a good concept. I think it likely comes from a national narrative about pride in our country, which we want all of our kids to have. But I also wonder if there's a little bit of a lack of knowledge here, right? Because we have these classes and the material is being covered, and perhaps the constituents simply don't know that, as opposed to just putting this Band-Aid, hey, let's add a civics test, which is way more complicated than saying, hey, let's add a civics test, right? Why don't we get together this information and some of the things that Dr. Nichols just read to us, and we can formulate a response to the constituency and, see if that satisfies the itch, which I think it will. And then this thing is put to bed without any formal action. Other than that, and you guys have any comments about that, let me know, but I'm moving to postpone this item to a date and time to be determined. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Cunha has a second. Ms. Davis, please poll the board.
Mr. Bullock,
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Ms. Cunha,
Aye.
Mr. Pagano.
All right. All right, motion passes unanimously. That is postponed. Moving on, Ms. Dombrowski, you're up. The VSBA Legislative Conference, the floor is yours.
All right, so I sent out the PowerPoint, which just outlines there's only 3 proposed legislative proposals. So what is required of me is when I go to the VSBA Delegate Assembly on Thursday, the process is after they provide a lot of different reports and committee information, just to back up a little bit, what they've asked us to do is to discuss these proposals with your entire school board so that you as the delegate can speak to the issues as necessary. So 3 legislative proposals. In reviewing the minutes from the last delegate assembly, they make the motion to either to approve them as a block, or somebody can make the motion to break it up and approve one by one. So depending on what we decide, we'll determine exactly whether or not I vote to approve it as a block or we want to break it up. So the first one is, and this is an amendment to an already existing proposed or part of their legislative platform, regards assessment reform and accountability reform. And the highlighted sections are, I'm sorry, not the highlighted, the underlined is the only new part to the existing proposal. And so the underlined part is Virginia Public Schools are committed to delivering high quality instruction and ensuring student success. Therefore, VSBA supports legislation to provide school divisions with a minimum of 1 full academic year to prepare for and implement any major policy changes that affect curriculum, instruction, assessment, or accountability systems. I'm sure we're all familiar with the fact that the Virginia Department of Education has been advocating for a change in the accountability framework. And so what this, to the best of my knowledge, is doing is asking that as part of the VSBA's legislative platform, is that they will be supporting a 1-year
Consistency.
one full academic year to better prepare for the implementation of that system. My understanding is, I know they've made some moves on the cut SOL scores. I know that plays into this partly, but isn't fully, so I'm
Just to
happy
give you 2 recent examples. So
Great.
one is when they changed the accountability framework and now you're distinguished on track.
Mhm.
They were making up the rules while we were having to do it. And to date, we still don't have the specifics on where we've fallen out because they've realized you can't make up the rules while a testing cycle has happened because you don't know all the so that's one piece. And then the cut score debate. So we brought to you guys that the cut scores are going up. They actually, last week, the State Board voted to delay implementation to next year. which is what this legislation would have required. And if you introduce it to a school division or school board, it won't go into effect until the following year. It's just hard to, during the year that you've already started and budgeted for and all of this,
Pivot.
play a different game by different rules. And that's kind of the last two things that made us do that. So I think this is a reaction to those two things.
And at the conference Helena and I went to over the weekend with the new, everything that will be changing over at the beginning, well, January
January.
21st.
Mhm.
This is probably not even necessary at this point that they ask for a 1-year delay, but that's what they're asking for, and love to get any thoughts here.
Why would you say it's not necessary anymore?
Because of the delegate assembly makeup that will be coming in January. My thoughts are that the VDOE will be taken under the new administration. And so I could be wrong, just that my thoughts are they're probably gonna delay or do something differently anyway, but
I mean, this is about whether, I hear what you're saying, but this is about whether we as a school board are behind this type of legislation or not, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but I am at least behind it, you know, based on some of the stuff that Ross has presented to us, and we've seen the implementation of these things and how much they actually have to do to get these things up and running and make changes in reading requirements and math requirements. It just makes complete sense that when we have a set of rules or a whole new paradigm to operate by, that we've got a year to implement. Right, and a year goes by really quick. So personally, I am in support of this particular piece.
Let me ask, Dr. Nichols,
Yes, sir.
this and Ross, this would be a good thing, yeah? Or,
Yes, versus them pass basically the regulation and then say, okay, right today. you need to
Yeah.
implement. Yeah.
okay, so that's, I'm on board.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I can say from, my perspective as an educator, when I was teaching, it's really hard when you've worked really hard on something and then you have to pivot. And, that's a lot of pressure on the teachers. And this is all good stuff, but we also have to be realistic. We also, when the pendulum swings, and this is all good stuff, but I think it's wise to allow people to have the time to adjust, because it's a lot of pressure on administration, but also the teachers that have to pivot and get all this stuff. It's a lot of pressure on everybody.
I feel the same way,
How
so.
about yourself?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think the board is behind this, and
Yep. Okay.
that would be our take on that one.
Great. The second one is a brand new position about chronic absenteeism. And their proposal is to remove chronic absenteeism as an indicator in accountability and accreditation models used to rate public schools.
And I think the thinking behind that one is right now, depending on the model you're looking at, it's 10% of your overall or 5%, depending on. And chronic absenteeism is an indicator that we can influence, but we don't control. We can control whether you, to a pretty large degree, whether you read proficiently or not. But we can't always control whether you come to school or not. So I think this one comes up annually as a difficult measure. New Kent does incredibly well in chronic absenteeism. We have great families and great partnerships. So I know this hits other school divisions harder than it does.
Way harder.
Yeah, as the superintendent, I wouldn't object to it. I wouldn't object to this legislative position. I've been other places and I know how hard it is to get kids to school without strong family partnerships. So,
It's hard to enforce.
yep.
So is this kind of a non-starter for New Kent? Is that what I'm hearing? Like,
Currently, we work very hard at it too. So, that's another thing. It is an indicator. So we have built a lot of structures to combat it, and are somewhat successful doing it. We'll continue to do that, whether this is a priority or not. If you're in school, you can learn. The data shows that. So we'll always chase it.
This
But,
is just,
the chronic absenteeism, just for a nuanced piece, forever families were conditioned that if you had a note, it was fine.
Right,
you're excused. Well, it's still excused, but you can still be chronically absent.
right.
So chronic absenteeism is not excused or unexcused. It's you've missed 10% of the school year. If you've missed 10% of the school year, chances are you're not doing well. So that's kind of where all that fits in. So
So how, because I've heard some parents, like, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, my kid won't do it, I'm having issues, and then I'm getting letters, almost like threatening.
you are,
And so what's that?
yeah, you are. If you're not coming to school, you definitely are
Right.
from us.
But my heart goes out to these parents who are struggling trying to get their kids to come. And yet I know that being present is important, it's crucial if they're going to be learning. And yet I also know that, being in school is essential to be able to learn. And yet I'm just like conflicted, like, I don't know that I want to go as far as to say we should advocate that the VSBA remove it as a legislative position.
Yeah, but
Remove
so,
chronic absenteeism.
so, I mean, what you're saying makes sense from a parent and a mom position and all that stuff, but what we're saying here, what they're proposing is that it's removed as a factor of consideration to rate public schools.
Mhm.
That's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So my question is, okay, so it's removed. Does it move the needle in any way for New Kent County? Right. That's what we're talking about right now. Sounds like it doesn't. There's no,
We'll still go after the structures we have in place.
Right.
Because we see great benefit when.
I mean,
we-
if chronic absenteeism was a factor that was keeping our rating down and we removed it and our rating went up a little bit, right? That'd be all right. It's a good thing.
Well, and the thing is, so that, let's call it 10%, that 10% is gonna go into other categories.
Right.
So, it may go into achievement or graduation or 3Es, or, you still gotta get to 100%, so it'll shift. And just remind, chronic absenteeism is missing more than 10% of the school year. So if it's 180 days, it's more than 18 days. So that's a significant amount of time that you're missing in school, so.
And I think there's two different issues here. And I've had to deal with this personally. Chronic absenteeism, I believe, should fall on the parenting. And that's not saying they have a legitimate reason or they don't have a legitimate reason. Either way, we can't control that. We just simply can't control it. So to have the school system rated by something that's not in our control, that we absolutely have nothing to do with, doesn't make sense to me anyway. I think that maybe the legislators ought to talk to the health department or social services about educating the parents on how important this is. So I don't have any angst with that, quite frankly. I think that that's a totally separate issue from good parenting, and that's probably not fair. Parenting alone. But we got to get the kids in school. They have to be there. And I know how difficult that is. If the kid's running the family, guess what? You got a problem bigger than school.
That's right. Okay. I'm curious, Dr. Nichols, since
Yes,
you've
ma'am.
been here, have you seen a downward trend in New Kent County and of course we had COVID. That really impacted a lot. But aside from COVID, because we always like to use COVID have you seen, even while you've been here, a trend, reduced chronic absenteeism?
So-
And what do you find is the reason for that?
I think across 7 years now, so I think post-pandemic, we saw a spike because
Mhm.
people got used to not being in school, and I can do this virtually and do this piece. I think the last, especially 3 to 4 years, we've really worked hard to combat that. So we have seen improvement. We've spent a lot of time talking to families about the importance of being in school and what happens. And, our high school in the 4x4 block moves incredibly fast. If you miss one day, you're missing
Yeah.
more than one day, or more than one period. You're missing 2 at least. So just sort of that education, and really the education about, even if it's an excused note, you're still not there. So you're
Right.
still missing. So we've seen that go down. which is a good thing. The high school has instituted seat recovery time. So if you are on the verge of being chronically absent, you are likely staying after school with us to get additional seat time. So
It's a good motivator.
it,
don't wanna be there
yes,
at
it's
school.
not their favorite thing to do. So, and we've kind of worked with families on that piece too. So I definitely think across the past couple of years, we've seen a good trend in school attendance. A lot of people like to give away a bike because kids are here all year. That doesn't really,
No.
you really have to get to the heart of why a kid's not there. So our school social workers, our counselors, and the whole team really wraps around. And a lot of our school-based mental health work is about making sure that people are ready to come to school and solving any of those problems that are prevented. So,
Apparently, some districts even wanted to pay students to be. I mean, I think that's going down a very slippery slope.
Has the chronic absenteeism factor been included in the accountability and accreditation system for a number
for
of
quite
years?
some time, through a couple of iterations, it was introduced, I forget how many years ago, but prior to me even coming here. So, at least decade that it's been in there. As the accountability model shifts, it's still in there to a degree. So yeah, that's not a new phenomenon, but it is one that schools division, similar to what Mr. Vaught was saying. It was like, we can influence it, we put the things in place, but we need help. That's the only indicator that plays out that way.
So if it were to be removed from the accountability and accreditation model, how would it affect the way that we respond to these
I would say
parents or?
it wouldn't have a ton of impact on what we do. Ross is shaking his head, so I'm thinking he wants to say something.
Our social workers already meet with parents, we have attendance meetings with them, mostly in regards to more, basically truancy, which is more unexcused absences. But it would take some of the onus on, or some of the issues away from excused absences, and which is sort of what blows it up with chronic absenteeism. So it wouldn't really impact the way we work with parents as much, other than really focusing in on basically students who are truant. So we have no reason why they're out. They're just being out.
Right. Okay, good to know.
Thank you. What's the next one?
Are we all on board with,
I mean, it seems to me that it doesn't move the needle for New Kent, and supporting the removal of it might help the districts that are impacted most by it that really need the help. Right? So it's kind of counterintuitive. So
Right.
I'm behind it.
everyone else okay?
Yeah, it's easier to say I'm behind it because we don't have an issue in our.
Yeah.
Well, if we
You know,
did, you'd be
but-
more behind it, I think.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
And the last one is an enrollment cap for Virtual Virginia, and this is also an amendment to existing legislative position. There's quite a bit of information. I don't want to bore you with all of
Thank you.
it. But what
Is
they're
this-
asking,
Sorry,
Go
is
ahead.
this the same situation where just the underlying stuff is being changed?
that is correct.
Gotcha.
So what they want to do is the enrollment cap in Virtual Virginia should be increased from its present capacity to accommodate more students to participate, including advanced courses in a cost-effective manner that may not be offered in school divisions without qualified staffing. So to try and summarize a lot of what the backstory behind it is that if a student wants to take a specific class and we don't offer it at New Kent, they could take it at Virtual Virginia Academy. But if we reach a certain number of students, then Virginia Virtual Academy, that's the cap. We can't have any more students. So their legislative position is that if the class is not offered in the school, then they should be able to attend Virtual Virginia Academy, even if it goes beyond the existing cap. So
it's removing that cap.
removing the
I'll
cap.
remove the cap so more students can have access.
Yes.
So more students can have access. The rationale is this legislative budget priority raises the free enrollment cap that will provide additional flexibility to divisions wishing to alleviate staffing issues by using the state's Virtual Virginia program while expanding opportunities for students.
And they did expand it. It initially said especially AP course, advanced placement courses, but they
Yes.
expanded it to include because it's really dual enrollment and those types. So they did expand the definition.
Thank you.
Ross,
Yes, sir.
you're doing the thing that you're ready to jump in again. So
Oh, no, it was actually in the language that you were using to explain it, because you went back and forth between virtual Virginia and Virginia Virtual Academy,
Oh, I'm
which
sorry.
are two legitimate, two different things.
Oh, okay.
So when you read it there at the end, I was waiting to hear it. When you read the end, it was virtual Virginia, which should be right here.
Okay.
Virtual Virginia is
you.
the statewide vehicle that we all utilize. Virginia Virtual, just to confuse it even further, is a private
Okay.
vehicle that is utilized by certain school divisions.
Wow. Okay.
So we'd be in favor of a cap increasing. Not only does it help when we're not offering a course, but it also helps kids when the course doesn't fit their schedule. So I need to take government, but I'm doing this. Our kids do 9 million different things and it doesn't always fit. So we can use that vehicle there. But they're right, it does those spots go quickly.
Okay, I'd be in favor of that.
Just a point of clarification. So there's a cap on the free.
Correct.
When that cap is reached, you can pay and still do it.
Correct.
So we're
There's-
increasing the
And-
accessibility to the free
Mhm.
would be the legislative position.
Oh, okay.
Well, it also has the underlined technology and online courses such as Virtual Virginia can provide a cost-saving alternative for school divisions. Virtual Virginia state-run online course offerings has an overall cap on the number of students in the Commonwealth that can enroll in its online courses and then underlined at no cost to localities.
Right. But if you read the last sentence, it says, once the cap is reached, divisions must pay for additional students.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And once again, we're incredibly fortunate. I say fortunate, we work hard to be fortunate. The number of dual enrollment teachers we have, you saw the last board meeting, we had course proposals for a couple more AP courses. We do plan a couple new DE courses, DE chemistry, for example, coming on board next year. So we're in a great spot that, I shared with you, we have 13 students on track to get an associate's degree with our partnership with
Good stuff.
RCC. But hey, we will not turn down more opportunities for our kids and this
Right.
is provided.
We've expanded.
super.
Excellent.
For the record, we're all behind it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Makes good job.
Sounds
There you go,
good.
Heather. You got your legislative duties ahead of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're on to unfinished business. Ms. Cunha, you are
Oh,
up
yes.
with the superintendent evaluation.
Yes. As you know, this seems like so long ago, was it this past summer, I had shared a proposed revision of how we do the superintendent summative evaluation. I know Dr. Nichols and I had an opportunity to discuss, we met, and we never really had a chance to review things. I had 2 board members share feedback. Ms. Dombrowski and Mr. Pagano, thank you for that. And based on their feedback, the draft I shared here with you is based on the feedback that they gave and kind of compromise. What I tried to do, because if you remember when we did the evaluation the other day, there's so many performance indicators, and some of them are so redundant. And even so, these different categories, there are 8 standards, right? And for each standard, I tried to limit it to 3 to 4 bullets. And sifting through all the options, and sometimes I use the language that was in some of the packets that we got. And then I provided feedback. Mr. Pagano and Ms. Dombrowski provided feedback. So what I like to do is make sure to go through the 8 standards, the 4 bullets, to make sure that everybody's okay with the language in the bullets. Now, I will say, and I tried to correct this, and again, it came out wrong. It's my fault. I don't know what happened, but when we get to standard 2, the second bullet should read like this, and it doesn't read like this, and it sounds confusing. So it's just the word. One word can mess it up.
Sorry, which one is this, Elena?
And anyway, let's start with standard 1, strategic leadership, and go through these. We did this the other day, but just focusing on the indicators that I came up with based on the feedback. The first one is leads the development of a shared vision that encourages collaboration among staff and stakeholders while working closely with the school board to develop and implement policies that promote continuous improvement.
Beautiful.
Does that sound good? I mean,
Sounds great.
again, Mr. Vaught, I know you were, indisposed, but I wanted to give you an opportunity today to provide your feedback.
Appreciate that.
Supports and enforces all school board policies and informs all teachers, staff, and constituents of changes to the policies. Third bullet, fosters a professional and respectful environment, keeping the school board informed of key issues and ensuring smooth day-to-day operations. And the last one, maintains safe and productive schools, promotes external partnerships, and ensures accountability through delegation and effective policy recommendations aimed at improving student outcomes. I don't think we need to have 10 performance indicators. The reason why I added that chart, and this was a recommendation through the model by the VDOE, what ineffective, approaching effective, and highly effective would look like. And, for some people, this is more difficult than others, especially when the language is foreign to them. I'm in the field of education, so this to me is pretty easy, but for others, it may not be. And so we don't have to include the chart at the bottom. Notice it's rating and comments. Now, we've been using the format where, it's, what is it, was it a Google
Doc.
Google Doc, and you just, had to go in and put the bubble. So we can decide on the format if this you think is too much. Anyway, standard 2, planning and assessment.
That's
Sure.
will help me and maybe the board. So for standard 1, these are the 4 indicators that I would provide documentation and evidence
Yes.
for in order to be rated highly effective to ineffective.
Yes, I apologize. Yes.
That's okay. So the other 6 to 8, I still have to do that because it runs a school division, but just not.
right.
Well, they may fall in other categories.
Right. And you'll
The
see
idea
it.
here is to streamline. And, we had the benefit of just doing this, last week or whatever, and it's ad nauseum, like over and over and over again. It's like, we just talked about these 4 topics and we're talking about them for 3 other standards, and it's really a burdensome form that's just verbose for no reason than to be verbose.
And redundant.
So the idea was just to kind of streamline, narrow it down, make it make sense. Some of the words that are used in the form, I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy. I don't know what the hell it means. Right. And so just clarifying what that is and how we go on to use it moving forward. Ms. Cunha, I would just say at the bottom with respect to the definitions of the categories 1, 2, 3, 4. It's nice to have a key. Maybe we have that in one spot, don't necessarily need it
Right.
every single time.
That's what I was going to recommend. Just have it maybe for the first one. So people get the gist.
Yeah.
And then not have to repeat it for the other standards.
Dr.
Does
Nichols,
that
sorry
make
if I
sense, Dr.
jumped
Nichols?
in.
I'm just know I'm looking at this from whatever you put forward is what I'm evaluated on. That's kind of how it works. What I'm looking is like, how do I document that, for example, and I'll just pick one, supports and enforces school board policies and informs all teachers. Like, how do I present that? Just as for us to think for, a year from now or however long, like, what do I provide you that shows that I've done that? Or do I not do that and you guys decide?
My take on it is, I don't know that it's any different than all the stuff you've already provided in the packets in the last 2 years. And that's not necessarily, maybe the wording is different, but that's
Right.
not necessarily something that's new, right? It's in the old evaluation form in
Right.
one form or fashion. So, again, I don't think we're reinventing the wheel here, just trying to clean it up.
And as far as informing all teachers, staff, and constituents of policies or any changes, how do you do that? I mean, how do you do that now?
Right.
You
But
know?
and we do it now, just in terms of to hand it to you as a document that I've done it is
Well,
Well,
that just as
that could be for you to figure out what's the most effective, easiest way to do that.
Well, here's the other side of that. I don't know that we necessarily determined or made decisions predicated on what you presented wholly anyway, because some of it you can't. I don't think
Right.
that you really can document those things. What we look at, for instance, you did in a strategic plan, you did a chart And most recently, you did a chart on number of infractions, second, and so on and so
Right.
forth. I look at that and determine, okay, yeah. And the other part of that is it enforcing policies or is it implementation? Or, where is the shortfall? So you can't, I don't think that's something that you can create or put out on paper. But in another issue, talking about the keys, I notice as you go through, the keys, really, you've set them up to apply to the particular performance standard. It looks like they're change.
Yeah.
Well, if you
Well,
look
that
at
too.
the, if you look at, it applies
it
to the wording
catch.
of, in the standard. So for example, performance standard 1, strategic leadership. The superintendent creates, monitors, and facilitates the process of strategic improvement and seeks to ensure the division's mission, vision, and goals are fulfilled in a manner that enables all students to be career and college ready and globally competitive, right? So if you look at effective, you look at the language, it ties to the standard.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Therefore, I wouldn't do
So-
away with the key
Okay.
because they're different. And
Yes,
that
for
may
each
help.
one.
That may help. I mean, they correspond to the standard.
Yeah.
They're
And
not, they're not
it's
all the
nice
same.
because
Yeah.
it gives
I
you
thought it was
the,
rubber stamp.
it
No.
gives you the nuance,
Sure.
like what's the difference between effective and highly
Sure.
effective? And I think even when we were having these conversations the other day, it might have been helpful to look at that and say, okay, there's a nuance, right? But it's really up to the board.
Well, I
I'm here
think
to-
that the key goes along with the performance standard. So I don't know.
Yes, sir.
It may be, we may end up with a difficulty explaining effective as it is in performance standard 1 with, say, performance standard 3. It may not be as applicable. So I'm just saying, let's keep the keys as you have them along with the standard.
Well, I appreciate your feedback.
And then that would make sense
Okay,
all the way through the process. It will clarify.
okay.
Going
Can
back,
we move on? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, going back to Dr. Nichols' question about how do I show you that I've supported and enforced all school board policies? I think of the cell phone policy. You incorporated that as part of your video into back to school. I'm sure you have meetings with staff to talk about it. That would be a great way, something that you could include in that end of your report. Any other policies? Yeah, it would just be great to know, like on an ongoing basis, this is what I did to implement it.
And
on a
so many of the
regular basis.
policies, I appreciate that feedback. So many of the policies don't impact most of the organization.
Right.
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 Cell phone is sort of the
Exactly.
abnormality, but I definitely think when there is something of that high
Mhm.
profile, there are not many things, but when if it's a, section D, which we'll talk about policy committee, that is really
Right.
gonna be an internal piece because it's financially driven and,
Right.
and the business. So, okay.
And I think out of fairness, if during the evaluation, if there's not enough information to support a decision, then at that point in time, we ask for more information or we ask for clarifying information. If we can't make a decision with what he's put together,
Mhm.
then if that isn't adequate, sufficient, or enough, then we go back and say, okay,
Mhm.
we need more information. And
And
that's
again-
fair, as opposed to preparing it and not needing it.
That's a very good point. And again, like you mentioned the other day, some of the stuff is on us as a board to reach out and say, we'd like to see evidence of this. And so we can't fault Dr. Nichols if we haven't done our due diligence, if we're expecting something and we don't ask for it. That's not on him, that's on us.
Well said.
Should we go on to standard 2?
Let's move.
Planning and assessment, the superintendent strategically gathers, analyzes, and uses a variety of data to guide planning and decision-making consistent with established guidelines, policies, and procedures that result in student academic progress and improve student outcomes. Now, for this, I included, and Johanna was kind enough to make a copy, some definitions. Because those of us that are not in the field of education, we see some of this language, and even it's complex. So for standard 2, I had 3 questions and I actually Googled and used AI because I didn't want to do the work and find it all myself. First question, what does it mean to apply research-based analytical techniques in education? And I'm not going to read all that for you. You can review that yourself. Second question that's for standard 4. Never mind. Okay, so I included what that means to help you, because when we look at the 4 bullets, and again, Ms. Dombrowski and Mr. Pagano had provided feedback. First bullet leads the collaborative development and implementation of the strategic plan, using current data to establish both short and long-term goals and objectives. Make sure these are supported by measurable performance indicators and regularly monitors and reports progress to the school board. Is everyone okay with that first one?
Yes.
Okay. Second bullet, and this is the one where I had to give you the correction because the word data shouldn't have been there. Ensures instructional programs meet federal and state standards by leveraging external resources, gathering relevant data, and applying research-based analytical techniques. And this is where, oh, I don't know what that means. So I provided what it means. And I could just read the first paragraph of what it means. I don't have to get into, I gave you examples, okay? Applying research-based analytical techniques in education involves using systematic, objective methods derived from scientific study to gather, interpret, and use data to understand and improve educational practices, outcomes, and policies. These techniques move beyond intuition or anecdotal evidence to rely on rigorous evidence-based methodologies. Now, of course, we're not expecting this for every little thing, right? We have to be reasonable, but certainly, and I'm sure they're doing this because they're professionals, they're educators. So how do we feel about bullet number 2? And please, Dr. Nichols, surely provide your input.
We have a research-based behind almost everything we do, so it doesn't change.
Exactly.
From,
And that's why you're having the success you're having.
yeah, my intuition is not strong for research. So.
Can you give me in all, like just a regular example? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm the one that's hung up with this language. I don't like this language. I'm a wordsmith as a professional, and this language drives me crazy when I'm thinking about how we're, excuse me, how we're using it to evaluate the superintendent.
Yeah, and it means
And with all due respect to Google and AI, and I use it as well, this doesn't help me at all. So research-based analytical techniques now means systematic, objective methods derived from scientific study. You didn't clear anything up for me.
Well, did you look at some of the examples?
Yes, but
Okay.
Can I say how happy it makes me to hear an attorney admit that he
here's the
Yes,
example of
language.
here's the example of systematic analysis,
Legalese.
regression analysis, thematic coding, or quasi-experimental designs. Come on.
Can you give him a
So
general?
also keep in mind, we have no data department or data person. So just, I will not be running a regression analysis, I can promise you.
Right.
Thank you.
But, so just to give you, and the problem with a lot of these is that it means a lot of different things. So if you dissect this, meets federal and state standards, that's one thing. And we have a method that we do that with, gathering relevant data. Just a very simple example, you saw some HMH updates a couple months ago. That is us, that is a research-based program. We're applying data out analytics to it to show that kids are progressing or they're not across the schools, just as something that's come to the board recently.
Does that make sense?
His example makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
the language is the language.
I think
is
there's a
awful.
simpler way to say it,
All
but
right,
Yeah,
how
the
should,
language is awful.
how
Is
should
that
we leave
is
it?
that a pedagogical strategy? I mean, come on.
Okay,
You
so
know, I would think, for instance, on number 2, ensuring
second
instruction-
bullet. Okay.
second bullet, that when you got down to gathering relevant data
And applying it?
and it crossed out the rest of that,
Gathering and applying.
yeah, gathering, okay, leave it and applying. Go that far. Go the next 2 words over.
Well, there's a difference between gathering data on student performance and then what do you do with it?
Well,
Right.
you said apply.
Yeah,
Gathering
well,
relevant data and applying, and then drop the research-based data analytical techniques.
And applying it to
well, let's look at
making
the other,
changes as necessary.
let's look at the other two and see if maybe fosters open communication with the school board and key stakeholders to encourage continuous feedback that enhances learning opportunities and drives ongoing improvement in student outcomes. Sound good? Okay. Seeks and uses human and material resources outside the division that may support and or enhance the achievement of goals and objectives.
Good.
Okay, so the hang up was that is with number 2, bullet number 2. Let me ask Dr. Nichols,
Yes, ma'am.
how might you, how would you simplify that and still make it relevant?
I think yeah, it's a lot. So here's what we do. We gather the data and
Mhm.
then we make decisions based on that data.
Okay,
So,
So-
for example, I was with an elementary school the other day. Every kid's on a post-it note and they're moving them around based on their latest assessment scores. So
Mhm.
research-based assessment, moving kids into different intervention groups, and then changing outcomes for kids. Like that's what we do on a daily basis across everything we do.
so
so-
can we say, okay, by leveraging external resources, gathering relevant data, and I just had it in my brain, it was very simple.
And we have partners from UVA that are helping us do that. I know that does help a couple people on the board that's UVA, but the other part is they are.
I think that's enough, right? Enough
Yeah.
said.
And applying that relevant data to
Improve
had it.
outcomes.
I had it in my brain, I went poof, and applying. No, just leave it.
I went to and making decisions based on.
Predicated on
Yeah, right. that's-
findings.
Making
right.
data-based decisions potentially.
Yeah, I think all we're simply asking is
I just had it.
make certain that we're keeping up and meeting federal and state standards. And how are you doing that? Boom.
Gathering relevant data and using the data to make.
I was just chat GPTing and the term informed decision. Thought that was.
Using the evidence to make informed decisions.
Yeah,
I think what you're trying to get at there is that it's not a just fly by the seat of your pants.
Exactly.
We're doing this, now we're doing this, and
right.
it's just the exact opposite of how we work. So,
Mhm. Okay,
I'm just worried
gathering
about what
relevant
evidence you're gonna give me
and-
next year about your thematic coding
Oh,
and your pedagogical strategies.
I'm gonna work with
Why?
the Trojan Theater and we're
Okay.
actually gonna put on a one-act.
I'm
play.
just not exposing, the issues with AI, okay? I wanted to, this is my little side, I had another
Yeah,
ulterior
that
motive
is
here.
gonna be a major concern next
Okay.
year, the pedagogical strategies.
By leveraging
Curriculum
different
development.
resources, gathering, relevant- and
I can see it.
Allison, what was
Yeah.
that last piece?
And I
And
was just saying, if you were trying to have a different thing than research-based, decisions, so it was informed decisions.
so as by leveraging external resources, gathering,
Gathering.
in order to make informed decisions.
Work forward.
Right.
Correct.
Does that sound good?
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
Okay. Moving on, is that okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Standard 3, instructional leadership. Superintendent fosters the success of all teachers, staff, division leaders, and students by ensuring the development, communication, implementation, and evaluation of instructional systems that promote high student achievement and professional development and growth for staff. I only had 3 here. Serves as a primary instructional authority
Did you get
for the
tired?
school division, setting clear expectations while overseeing the alignment, coordination, and delivery of instructional programs and curriculum that comply with federal, state, and local standards, all guided by relevant data-driven decisions. You see, that's the same one basically as the other one, only stated clearly.
Much better language. Yeah.
So we can decide to even get rid of the other one if we wanted to.
Let's
But,
do, get rid of it.
next bullet, fosters a culture of excellence within a school division by promoting effective evidence-based decision-making, utilizing diverse data sources to enhance organizational performance, educator effectiveness, and student learning. Sound good? Ooh.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
And
does a lot.
I really don't recall you saying, were you an English major or,
I did it all, honey.
okay, that would explain this.
No. I wasn't an English major, but
Okay, all right, thank
this
you.
is based on language that was.
Yep.
Okay, and actually taking from some of the packets that Alice had put together with, when you chunk all the information and it was a long paragraph. This is all the stuff that he does. I mean, pretty impressive, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, next
If I could
bullet.
understand it, I would agree.
Well, you have to really
I
break
know
it
what he does
down.
is impressive. I'm not certain what this says captures that.
Well, think about this.
You go with that evaluation system as well.
Huh?
Just, you're happy with what's happening and
Yeah, that's, you know,
But here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. This is what we have to remember. This is an evaluation form. Yes, we have Dr. Nichols now, but you mentioned leaving a legacy, okay? What we have to understand is that at some point, Dr. Nichols will not be with us. It'll be someone else. So this is a standard by which superintendents are evaluated. And that's a serious thing. They're the head of the administration of the organization.
I'm sold. I'm sold. believe
Okay,
me.
next one, works
what-
collaboratively with the school board staff and community representatives to identify needs, determine priorities, and foster continuous improvement.
I have a recommendation for bullet point number 2, between the commas, delete the language that starts with the word utilizing and ends with the word performance. We've already said it 3 times in the last 4 factors.
Okay, tell me again now, fosters a culture of excellence
Excellence,
within the school
yep.
division by promoting effective evidence-based decision-making.
Educator effectiveness and student learning.
Okay, so also
Excellent.
utilizing diverse data sources to enhance organizational, gotcha.
Cut that.
Educator effectiveness and student learning.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Sounds great. And we may want to revisit that standard too. All right, standard 4. I did provide what are research-based theories and techniques as it relates to okay, again, this is, where it gets,
We have fun words in
yeah.
here.
All right.
Remember, she got it all from the original video.
Now, remember, I got feedback from Pagano and Dombrowski, and I had to kind of mesh those together. And this is
Yeah.
why we need to come to a
Yeah.
Yeah,
consensus.
now this is making sense to me.
Okay,
I
standard
missed that
4.
part.
This guy.
Organizational leadership and resource management. The superintendent fosters the safety and success of all teachers, staff, division leaders, and students by supporting, managing, and evaluating the division's organization, operation, and use of resources. We had 4 for this. First one, facilitates the implementation of research-based theories, here we go again, and techniques relating to school attendance, parental involvement, student behavior, and school safety to ensure an orderly and positive environment conducive to teaching and learning. The idea is that he is a professional, the division are professionals, and they're not just pulling things out of the thin air. He goes to professional development, and he's going to use what he learns from his professional development and applies it to the division, right? Next bullet, implements sound personnel procedures in recruiting, employing, and retaining highly qualified and high-performing teachers, administrators, and other personnel based on identified needs. Next
And
bullet.
research-based data. Can we add
No. Okay, this is why you should have chimed in when I sent the stuff this summer. Provide staff development, support, and resources tailored to all personnel categories that enhances job performance improvement in alignment with individual needs, program evaluations, and instructional improvement goals. And the last one, plans and implements a systematic performance evaluation system of all employees that provides timely and constructive feedback and recognizes and supports the achievements of highly effective personnel. That's pretty straightforward there. Maybe
I
the
would-
first one is the hang up there.
It is for me, I would completely eliminate the first bullet.
Okay,
Again, with research based, but if we get beyond that, it's discussing school attendance, parental involvement, student behavior, and school safety, when the standard is organizational leadership.
right. So you want to just X that one?
I
How
would.
does everyone
I
feel
don't think it
about that?
applies as well.
Okay. What, Ms. Dombrowski, you're okay with that?
Yep.
And we'll just have the 3 bullets.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm perfectly great with that. All right, keep it pithy and keep it clear. All right, number 5. Communication and community relations. The superintendent fosters the success of all students through proactive, responsive, and professional communication with the board, staff, families, and other stakeholders. I had 3 here. Models and engages in timely, proactive, responsive, and professional communication with the school board, staff, families, and stakeholders. Fosters an atmosphere of mutual respect and trust with the board, staff, families, and stakeholders, strengthening the bond between schools and the broader community. Boy, do you do that. Unites groups with diverse interests and perspectives, fostering collaboration to address both current and potential challenges effectively.
According to all new database research.
Thematic coding models.
I'm gonna come up with something to
I have
give you
no
later.
issues.
Does that one sound good?
That's
Okay.
good.
Was there one for standard 6?
We on
Oh
8?
my gosh.
Oh, and
Standard 6, define disaggregated data as it applies to educational field. Now, this is important.
Yep.
And you'll see why. If you look at the definition of disaggregated data, it is important. And look at the examples. Okay. Okay, so the superintendent establishes and implements division goals, priorities, and strategies centered in equity and culturally responsive practices to support achievement of all students. First bullet, collaborates with all stakeholders to foster ownership and a shared vision, mission, and core values that support all students and champions a culture of belonging and continuous improvement for every student. Establishes and implements division goals and strategies to support achievement of all students using disaggregated data to guide priorities and monitor progress. Plans, implements, supports, and assesses the instructional program to provide all students with unbiased access to a curriculum composed of high-quality content, instruction, and materials. I tried very hard to remove language that can be weaponized or whatever and try to keep it very much to the point. But the disaggregated data is important. Okay? And it's not just about gender or race. There are other factors that can affect children, and we have to make sure that all these children, their needs are being addressed as best we can, of course, right?
Good. I have no issues.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Elaine, can you just remind me, did we only review the data, the performance indicators, or did we also offer suggestions with the overall language of the standard? as
You
well?
offered suggestions, and I included them in this proposal.
But we did both. I just
Yes,
couldn't
I
remember.
incorporated Mr. Pagano's and yours because we had to come together as a group and Mr. Vaught and, well, sadly, Mr. Reimer's not here, and decide together what was what we were comfortable with.
Right. My question is, did we only add edits to the performance indicators, or did we also evaluate and add?
We cannot change the language of the standard. That
That's what
comes
was my
down from
question.
the
I
state.
couldn't
I
remember.
apologize for not understanding.
That's fine.
That comes from VDOE, it's from the state, and we don't touch that. We have ability to decide what our performance indicators are. We don't even have to go with what the recommendations are, but that standard language, that has to stay.
Thank you for the reminder.
What, strategies centered in equity?
Mhm.
What are we saying there?
Right, so
As
that,
opposed to equality?
okay, here's the
Because a
difference.
standard, as I look at a standard is a standard,
Okay.
and it doesn't
look at the example, and you're right. And this was something that came about, oh, I would say maybe 10 years ago, it really became a focus. If you look at the example that they give,
Well, before we go in the weeds here, hold on. Ron, you're on 6,
yeah, 6.
and then the up top here, that language,
Yes.
Yeah.
is that the language from the VDOE we can't change?
It is, because this was a standard that they added in the revision, I think, from 2020. They added this standard.
Yeah, but my point is that we're trying to make the distinction between equity and equality. We can't,
Exactly.
if that's the one from VDOE, we can't change.
So
Yeah.
as a board,
Mhm.
we have no ability to change the performance standard. We can only change the indicators.
Yes, we can only
That's what I
change the
just heard.
indicators. And that's why I tried to soften the language to not have a lot of that really
I wasn't
charged
aware of that,
language.
so
So
that's interesting.
here's the thing, okay? And I think that the issue with equity, and being that I was a teacher, I can understand it was taken too far. Okay, there are times where children, based on their needs, may need a little boost up. Okay. So in other words, the same for everyone may not benefit every child, especially, for example, if you have a SPED student, right? Or maybe a child with a disability. The issue, and it's become very prickly, is race, gender, etc., right? And when it's not applied correctly, it can go too far. Let me give you an example. I was told you cannot fail a student. Oh, you have to understand there's certain economics, situations. They come from a certain economic group, and okay. This is where, in my opinion, it gets sticky because, okay, so we're going to keep advancing them, but we're not going to provide the extra reinforcement that child needs to be successful, so that by the time they get to me in 6th grade and they're reading at a second grade reading level, but they've been advanced in past year after year, how is that helping that child? You see, so it's nuanced, it's difficult.
Well,
I
what you
get your
just
point.
described was very specific.
Yes,
This is not.
right.
This applies across the board for every situation as it is written. And the
That's not,
expectation,
that's out of my control.
well, and that's why I'm asking. I didn't realize that we
Am
couldn't
I
change.
correct on that,
I
Dr. Nichols?
I didn't
I'm pretty
realize
don't
we
know
sure.
the answer to that.
I didn't
I'm
realize
happy
that we
to
couldn't
We
provide.
can look
change.
into it, but, and I had shared, I'd have to go back, I had shared a slide presentation that had information about all the standards. Let me double check and I'll get back to
We're
you.
obviously gonna work on an edited version of this with a couple of the
Yes.
changes in the language, so maybe we can bolster that presumption and make sure we're accurate there.
Yes, if I'm wrong about that, I will get back to you.
Yeah.
If
I
if I
appreciate
don't,
that. And
Yeah.
it may, if it can't be changed, it can't be changed. And there's no
and
need
this is
to.
why,
Yeah, you
when
can't-
It's
we
like
get,
putting out a gasoline fire with tennis shoes.
absolutely, and this is why when we get to the weighting of these standards, right now, the weighting is all the same, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Right.
And that's why we can make this worth less when we evaluate Dr. Nichols, because I think some of this is a little,
7?
let's go to 7. Superintendent fosters the success of teachers, staff, and students by demonstrating behavior consistent with legal, ethical, and professional standards, engaging in continuous professional development, and contributing to the profession. 3 bullets. Models integrity and ethical conduct in all interactions while fostering a collaborative environment with stakeholders to advance the mission, vision, and goals of the division. 2nd bullet. Maintains confidentiality, takes responsibility for actions, and engages in continuous professional development to enhance student learning and contribute to the profession. 3rd bullet. Actively participates in state and national committees, mentors others, and stays current with new developments, encouraging staff to do the same in order to promote both individual and organizational success. Any comments on those?
I read just a couple minutes ago. I think it's fine.
Okay, and let's go to standard 8, and then we can revisit standard 2. We can rehash that one. Standard 8, division-wide student academic progress. Superintendent's leadership results in acceptable, measurable, and appropriate division-wide student academic progress based on established standards. Notice, Mr. Vaught, that there the word is acceptable, right? That's pretty broad.
Yeah, it is.
And now we, as a division, can go, and we do, we have higher expectations anyway. So look at the first bullet, leverages data and research to drive informed decisions that enhance student academic achievement and overall improve student outcomes. Second bullet, engages in proactive communication and guides collaborative efforts with staff and stakeholders to analyze diverse student learning metrics, identifies and implements effective strategies to boost academic achievement while providing consistent updates to the board on students, schools, and division progress. We can decide what that consistent update to the board looks like. That's a decision for the board to make, of course, with the input of Dr. Nichols. Delivers and supports impactful professional development opportunities that empower teachers and applicable staff members with skills that foster continuous student achievement improvement within their classrooms. Last one, demonstrates responsibility for division academic achievement through proactive education and outreach to parents, staff, and other community stakeholders. Give you an opportunity to digest that.
I don't have any issues.
Good.
I don't, what exactly does efforts with staff and stakeholders to analyze diverse student learning metrics?
Well, if you're just using SOL scores to determine the achievement or progress of a child, that's very limiting.
But what choice do we have there, according to VDOE?
That's one of the conversations we can have. There are other, like there's the VALS testing, there are benchmarks. There are a lot of ways to assess progress and achievement in children.
But what is acceptable by the VDOE? Are all of those methods acceptable?
Yes, in
Are
fact,
we using those?
some of them, yeah. I mean, we're using a lot of them. The VDOE actually provided, and I shared, a list of categories of different types of performance indicators that could be used. I'm hoping that we can have another, not tonight, because today we were just focusing on the evaluation form. But related to Standard 8, the school board can decide what metrics it wants to see and what metrics should be used to assess student progress and achievement. And there's a whole category of them. It's not just testing. There are other factors as well. Primarily testing, absolutely. And in fact, the workshop that we went to this weekend, they had this chart, which was excellent. A lot of it was SOLs, okay, and SOL scores in various categories, etc. But again, the issue again is that we have a diverse student population, right? And notice that's why it says acceptable, measurable, and appropriate division-wide student academic progress based on established standards. The VDOE provides some requirements for what those standards should be, but we as a board must also decide and establish what those standards will be in our division. Of course, with the feedback from Dr. Nichols and Mr. Miller, etc., because they're the professionals, they're the educators.
Well, what is I invite your take on that. It seems so wide open and so ambiguous. I was looking for something more definitive. Am I wrong?
Can I?
Not,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, that's all right. Let's hear. I mean, if you guys don't mind, is
No,
there any,
we're happy to
if you don't have any input, that's fine.
chime in.
I'm just trying to,
Like, we measure the success in New Kent County Public Schools on 1,000 different indicators. So I think for me, as this is the evaluation of the superintendent, I would like to be very clear on what is important to the board to make sure we're hitting those targets. Because there are a million different targets that we're working through. So, graduation and completion is a big target. We were doing 3E before anybody else was talking about 3E. So we are really pushing to make sure every kid has a pathway and a plan. That's something that I'm very passionate about chasing, but if that's not in the academic progress plan, which I would hope it would be. I don't know, Ross, that's just.
Similar, definitely, I would welcome discussion on what it is y'all value. I know this is sort of the state's document, but really, what is it that y'all are looking for specifically? And again, this goes back, this measure of performance of superintendent. So what are y'all looking for from us to show that we're doing what?
And some of what we do is more of a formative nature, like we're trying to diagnose something.
Second bullet point.
I would hesitate to put that in front of you guys as a success measure.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what I'm trying to clarify, because this is not, I mean, how do you go after, I mean, it's like chasing your tail. If this is something we can change, the performance indicators, then
Yes.
I would like to see this more specific as to board expectation through this metric.
You're absolutely correct. And that's why the next phase of this, as a board, which we haven't done, and this is our second year, we as a board need to look at all the different types of performance indicators. I shared a document and I indicated in red what is already being done in division. Then Ms. Dombrowski and Mr. Pagano offered based on the list that I provided, they provided input on what they thought, this is, this would be good to look at and include.
Okay.
So that's for another day. So in other words, and by the way, those performance indicators should tie in to the strategic plan, right? Right
Yes.
now we have 3 goals, right? Number 1 being student achievement.
Can I pause you just for a second? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm a little lost. So Ron, let's have a conversation. Performance standard 8, bullet point 2. Let's break this down because it says 3 things, right? The first thing it says is that the superintendent engages in proactive communication, which means he initiates the communication. He guides collaborative efforts with staff and stakeholders, community members, teachers, etc. To do what? Analyze diverse student learning metrics. I would question maybe what that means, but analyze diverse student metrics. So the first thing it's saying is that he analyzes data with his team and takes feedback from us and community. The second thing it says is, because there's a comma there, is that he identifies and implements effective strategies to boost academic achievement. I don't think anybody has a hang up with that one, right?
No.
All right. The third thing it says is that the superintendent does that while providing consistent updates to the board on student, school, and division progress. I feel like we get that at every meeting and as part of the strategic plan update now. So I'm a little lost as to what to hang up here on the languages. So help me out.
Okay, here's how are they going to provide consistent updates to the board on student, schools, and division progress if we were to decide to change the learning metrics? If they're using this set of metrics and bringing that information to us, and we're expecting something totally different,
Okay.
or another board, to your point, the next board or board, down the road or for the next superintendent comes in and says, no, that's not the metrics. Well,
Okay.
then he could in fact, or the superintendent at the time could in fact get dinged on this because we're using another metrics
I
and the
got it.
outcomes don't match.
I got it.
So that's
here's-
all I'm saying.
Here's, in my opinion, here's a simple solution to that. At the end of that first portion, say as defined in the current strategic plan. Because we have data that we built into the strategic plan that we want to see, right? And what Ms. Cunha was talking about a second ago is, all right, how are we going to get this rolling now? Because we just launched it. And how
Sure.
often is the school board going to get the data and take a look at it? Maybe every quarter we're reviewing test scores and graduation rates and SOL and SAT or whatever it is we want to look at, right? But if we tie it to the strategic plan and the data we've already built into the strategic plan, if us in the future or a future school board wants different metrics, they got to amend the strategic plan, and it all has to tie together.
And that makes sense, because that way there's a standard set. It's not just,
It's related. That strategic
Sure.
plan goes hand in hand with this.
so if I'd be good if we just added that.
Yep.
So that it becomes a set standard. So these guys would know, what are we chasing? What do you want to hear? What do you want to
Right.
learn?
And that's why we as the board need to have these discussions so that it's not, again, it's not on them, it's on us.
I-
That's part of our responsibility.
I don't know why we're having that conversation, because I
mean,
realize that.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
saying.
you asked.
But no, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that the standard needs to be set, and we haven't.
So
That's
let's
right.
change it
Okay,
where
What
it
do you
says
recommend?
stakeholders to analyze the metrics set forth in the current strategic plan.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pagano, you're
Yeah,
on number
second sentence, bullet point 2, second sentence.
Yeah,
Stakeholders to analyze the current metrics or the metrics as set forth in the current strategic plan.
analyze the current,
Metrics
The
set
metrics
forth.
set forth in the current strategic plan.
the metrics set forward
Yeah. In the current strategic plan.
in the current strategic plan. And leave it there and not continue, or?
No, continue. I
okay.
think the hang up is the first part.
To
right.
analyze,
Anybody else have issues?
Yeah, no, I think that's.
instead
that-
of diverse student learning metrics, instead
makes
to
sense.
analyze the metrics set forward in the current strategic plan instead of the other thing, right?
Yeah, everything else is good.
Okay. Wording, yeah. Grammatically correct. Okay, so those are the standards. Should we go back to standard two?
I was saying, before
Yeah.
we get into a weight discussion, I want to clarify two things. And then I want to hear from the superintendent about where he thinks this is lacking or needs improvement or change of language or whatever the case may be. So you were saying go back to 2, Helena?
Yeah, because that second bullet, I think, gathering relevant data, and we changed the wording, right? Gathering relevant data and gathering relevant data in order to make informed decisions. I think
I-
we fixed that. We fixed that.
I also think it's backwards. So I would,
okay.
in other words, by leveraging external resources, gathering relevant data and applying research-based techniques, the superintendent ensures instructional programs meet federal and state standards.
Got it.
Not the other way around.
Okay. Yeah. Start here. Da-da-da-da.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
That I hope my notes make sense later, but she's got it right.
Yeah, she's
Ensure.
Just
good.
go back and watch the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff.
Period.
All right, now, I would like to go back to performance standard number 1 and bullet number 2. I think we got a problem with bullet number 2 tonight. All right, and I think I understand what
Yeah.
Dr. Nichols was saying, and if I got this wrong, Dr.
That's the
Nichols,
one.
jump in here. I think the hangup is in an evaluation and the evidence that Dr. Nichols was suggesting he has to provide to us to suggest that he's met these things. The language is so broad here, in my opinion. And what he said before kind of made the light bulb go off in my head.
Mhm.
It says supports and enforces all school board policies. How is he going to do that? You know how
Yeah, I
many
don't-
school board policies there are,
Yeah.
right? And
The
to his
word
point
all,
before,
yeah.
most of these are day-to-day operations. How do you prove or give us evidence of what's going on a daily basis that Dr. Nichols, the admin and the team and all the teachers are complying with the policies? I mean, that's just a huge request.
So do we want to X this one out?
Well, I mean, that's one thing. The other thing, and so we all use the cell phone policy as an example. That's easy because it was a big issue and it was in everybody's face. So the idea of maybe, pertinent school board policies, relevant
Okay.
school board policy, any school board policy at issue, right? Maybe we can carve out something like that. If we're not all willing to get rid of it, I think all school board policies is
The word
This is too
all.
big.
Yes, anytime you use the word all, that's.
Yeah,
that's
I
very- yeah.
agree, but I think that it's important to have in here, the latter part of that informs all teachers, staff, and constituents of changes to policies. That would, like we did, like you sent out,
yeah.
you did a video,
Memos and
you sent out, I mean,
notices.
everyone knew those policy changes were coming.
Mhm.
So if we just took the word all out and supports and enforces school board policies, which you do every day, and then inform all teachers, staff, and constituents of changes to the policy or to a policy or whatever.
Okay, but Dr. Nichols, so my question to you is, are you still wondering, like, how am I gonna prove that I've done this? You
Oh,
know?
I'm wondering that throughout this document.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, for example, if we decide to change the purchasing threshold and what requires 3 bids and what, like, there are maybe a dozen people in the organization that need to have that information because not everybody has that purchasing
Right.
piece. So we would certainly, Haney would communicate that and those people, like I could provide that. Some years, not every year is a cell phone policy year. So
Right.
some years it's really just gonna be code changes and things like that. And there's not gonna be so far this year, there hasn't been a whole lot to communicate specific to policy changes. But we do update them and we'll talk about that in the next agenda item. So. Who's else? Yeah.
And I question the word constituent. Maybe parents, but do we really have to be notifying
So
every
policies are
voter
now
in
on
New
board docs,
Kent?
they're searchable, they're updated, like, is that the extent of my
That's part of it.
responsibility
That's
Right.
part of it.
for constituents?
Yeah,
And
mean-
constituents, I think, is or community is an important word. Because taxpayers,
Mhm.
they may not have children, but they're concerned
Right.
about education. They may have grandchildren coming in later or something, or somebody's coming here. Let me just throw this out here. We currently have a board that is, and excuse the term, governing. Is that a fair assessment of what we do, our responsibility?
It's our job.
A school system that I believe is, if not the best, one of the best, certainly in the Commonwealth, maybe the nation as we go forward. We have a superintendent that is excellent and does a tremendous job, and a support staff that does equally as well. Wouldn't it behoove us to, if they wanted to look over this as well and take this and perhaps write in some suggestions that make sense?
who writes in suggestions?
Dr. Nichols and the staff, the ones that, and then perhaps we could develop a evaluation that not only would make sense to us, but to any superintendent that came in. And we could take those recommendations and go back through this and see how they fit and apply to what we're trying to do. Because we got a panel of experts here. We're not that panel of experts in terms of exactly what they do and the best way.
Day-to-day operations.
Yeah, day to day and how to be evaluated. Things that may actually be more applicable to the evaluation than what we have here.
Well, but this is the superintendent evaluation specifically.
I understand.
He sets the evaluation process for all the other staff members. And I think your point is,
We're not asking him
legitimate.
to write it. We're asking
Right.
him for input.
yeah,
He's a source. When I make decisions, I'd rather have, and for what I do as a call, I ask my leadership and everyone to bring all the best sources of information in so that we can make an informed decision. I think that maybe we have an opportunity here, I believe anyway, to do that, and perhaps, maybe not, but perhaps that would help us in terms of coming up with a not only an evaluation that conforms to the state standards, but also makes sense and true boots on the ground application, if that makes sense. Maybe not, but I'm just,
So the previous 2 years, we used this generic form and we got the job done. And so you're saying that that was inadequate, right?
not at all. And please don't read into my statements. I'm saying that we're changing.
Yes.
We're making a change.
Mhm.
Let's get all pertinent resources involved with all the recommendations, suggestions to make pertinent changes. And adequate, we've all agreed. We ran on the point and we got on the board because we didn't want adequate. We wanted their excellence.
Mhm.
So I'm saying, as a point of achieving and pursuing excellence, consider all the resources that we could use to put into this. If the board at large thinks that's, and it's no reflection, please,
No, no,
on
no.
what you have done. This
My
is
only-
excellent.
Here's my only concern. It is now November,
Mhm.
and if we're going to do all this, it's not going to be fair to Dr. Nichols to then say, oh, by the way, we're going to do your evaluation, and this is the new metrics we're going to use. The new form. So then that would only apply to the following year because that's not fair to him. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't understand the urgency
This is why
for, we just did the evaluation,
yes,
okay?
that's true, but he's evaluated for the school year. We're now in the second term of the
Sure,
school year that he's
okay.
going to be evaluated. You understand?
Do you
I
think
don't.
that, I don't,
I don't.
I don't
We just did the
understand.
2025 evaluation. The next evaluation is 2026. And per the
Right.
revised contract, we could do that anytime in 2026.
That's why I'm saying, what is the urgency there?
Okay.
I'm getting lost in
All
that.
right, Dr. Nichols,
Yeah,
what is your feeling on that?
which piece?
He's totally.
No, I'm just talking about
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
providing input
Yeah.
in the evaluation so that when you look at it, you understand what is being expected. Rather than our assuming that expectation, we've covered it properly. And maybe we have.
And maybe I go at things very simply, and it's just the way we operate or I operate. The board approved a strategic plan less than a year ago. That is what I have charged them and everybody with. We need to implement these 4 goals, these measures, and then we have KPIs with all of them. Like, to me, that's how we've said as a team, we're moving this organization forward. I'm not sure how much overlap or gaps there are between this evaluation and that strategic plan to make sure, well, like I know policy implementation is not part of that strategic plan, it's just part of day-to-day work I do. So, yeah, and there are things on that strategic plan that I don't think are reflected in this evaluation just as a glance. That's what I was
Right.
doing over here, was just trying to match up things. So,
My question is
But I think that's a great point, and I think it ties into what you're saying and also what you're saying, which is, I mean, we all have our opinions about the evaluations, and we're supposed to evaluate ourselves. Could you imagine that conversation? By the way, I do a great job. I'm kidding. Having the operational tasks and the data and the things that we've tasked the school with in the strategic plan tied into, not replacing, but tied into or added to this form, right? Because if that's how we're evaluating the school system that he leads, then that makes sense to me. And I think that's what Ron is sort of suggesting in a way, which is
Okay.
let's get a little feedback from the people that run the show day to day and what they would suggest or see being added to this or replacing, A with B, so that it makes more sense for them in their day-to-day work that we are not plugged into.
and whether we do this on the front end or the back end,
Right.
one of the first things we're gonna do as a team, we're gonna sit down with these indicators. And we're gonna go, what's the evidence that we would put together for the board? So, I mean, we can do that on the front end, we can do it, but it's step number one we're gonna do. If you put a target out there, we wanna make sure we hit it, and we make sure we do it well, so.
Yeah, but my point is, I'm not, it's like SOLs. I'm not interested in throwing a target out there so that you meet the standards of the target. The objective is to fulfill the strategic plan.
Just like-
That's different than throwing out a different target and saying, well, we gotta go here. We definitely have to, SOLs, a good example. How many times in the past years since SOLs did the student instruction boil down to making certain the student could pass the SOL? Learn it or not, get it, it had nothing to do with ability to maintain what you learned. So I'm just saying, and the board, we may decide that the recommendations and suggestions don't fit with what we believe needs to go forward. So we work through that. But I'm saying, let's at
So are
least
you
see if we can match them
suggesting
up.
that we get recommendations from the staff on what performance indicators for each of the 8 standards should be included along with these bullets or replace the bullets?
No, I'm saying that Dr. Nichols and superintendent, with whoever he'd like to call into this,
Mhm.
looks at this and makes comments, notes, maybe recommendations. And then we bring it back and we look at those and how they line up. I would assume that you're gonna, just like you just said and did, you're looking at the strategic plan and saying, how does this line up with what we're asking there? And that we may find that it simplifies or adds additional bullets, or maybe we change a bullet, or maybe everything's just fine like it is. But I think that it's worth at least considering an additional resource of the
Okay.
boots on the ground.
I'm up for whatever the board decides to do. I'm just trying to be a facilitator. I think more information can be a good thing. I just want to make sure that whoever is truly interested in providing the feedback, again, if we have too many people in the pot, then it's just, I would want that to be relevant people, relevant information as it pertains to the superintendent's evaluation. That's my only thing. I'm all for exploring this more.
Well, and I hope that those comments, I hope that we remember that when we decide to, in the future, form committees and going forward. That, so I would be very comfortable with Dr. Nichols choosing whoever he believes he would like to come alongside him and just look at this. But primarily it's his input.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yes.
think primarily it has to be his input because
Absolutely.
it's his evaluation.
Absolutely.
And I
I
just
concur.
don't.
And I think this is amazing what you've
Yeah.
what you've done just from the boilerplate to here. This is amazing.
It's a work in progress, and that's why it's a draft. And again, I didn't get feedback. I got feedback from Mr. Pagano. And
I
got
understand.
Feedback from Ms. Dombrowski, and so that's why we're here and we're having
Well,
an opportunity. to
I can
have
say this,
conversation.
at least for me, this, maybe all the form and function is not perfected yet, but as a tool, as it's presented here, this makes a hell of a lot more sense to me than the thing we did the other day.
Oh, it's beautiful. This
Right?
is,
So it is definitely a step
amazing.
forward. So might I suggest this? We finish with our revisions. Let's get to the point system now. We finish with our edits,
Yeah.
and then we can forward it to Dr. Nichols. He can bring in, like you're saying, bring in whatever experts he wants to bring in, let him redline it and send it back to us.
Mhm.
And we can either accept or reject the red line changes.
that's all,
Right.
that's all I'm saying.
That's perfectly reasonable. Thank you for surmising that. All right, let's get to the weighting part. So the standard, the default has been that we fill in, whatever highly effective or effective, whatever we did, and then everything was weighted the same. However, we do have discretion as a board on a local level to decide if we, looking at the 8 standards, if we want certain standards to weigh more than others. Now, as an example, and I will say this comes from the Code of Virginia, the Code of Virginia requires that Standard 8, which is the student academic progress, be a significant component of the evaluation. And furthermore, how student academic progress is met is the responsibility of the local school board, provided that Standard 8 is not the least weighted or less than 1, which is 10% of the total score. So with
Weights
that in
have to equal
mind,
10, right?
yes. So when I shared the chart this past summer, I got feedback from Mr. Pagano and Ms. Dombrowski. And based on the feedback, sometimes I had to somehow compromise somewhere in the middle. But actually, their feedback was almost spot on, which was really interesting.
I'd say scary, but interesting is a better word.
But if you notice, Standard 8, they both agreed,
Mm-hmm.
and I agreed as well, that that should be the highest weight because we are in this is the profession, right? This is why we're here. Student outcomes, student progress, student achievement. And certainly academic progress has to weigh the most. Now remember, Standard 6 is that whole weird, right, wording. And so I would even, if it were me, I would take a little bit maybe off of that and do 0.75. And we don't have to do like quarters, but to make it the numbers easy and possibly add more to like Standard 3 instructional leadership even, because that to me is more relevant than Standard 8. So again, this is for you to review because you didn't have an opportunity to do so, and let's talk about it. Certainly also with the input of Dr. Nichols. This is just where we are now. It's not set in stone.
I like your suggestion to move to 0.75
Okay.
on number 6 and then pull that up to instructional leadership. I
Okay.
mean, I think that makes sense to me. And the rest of it, I mean, it certainly makes sense. And I think that I agree completely with the academic progress being 2, the highest weighted of the standards.
Okay, Mr. Pagano and Mr. Brodsky.
That's a great idea. And I'm happy with everything else the way it is.
And then, of course, Dr. Nichols. What do you think?
And this could, I have it right here on the
Okay.
screen. Thank you. And this may go back to high school math class. I think my only aversion is you now need a calculator to determine if I'm effective or not. And I don't think it should be that hard.
Okay.
But I mean, I do understand it has to be weighted but literally you can put your numbers in and you actually have to go through the calculations to figure out. So yeah, hopefully I come out on the right side of the calculation. So we'll see. But I do like that the academic progress is the heaviest weight. So we can have all the great intentions and strategies, but if we don't yield results.
That's right.
That's right.
So we don't shy away from that.
And the math isn't hard. It's the weight times the points, right? If you see the bottom, if it's highly effective in that category, it's a 4 times, let's say for the first one, Standard 1, it would be 4 times 4.4 times 1.25. It's all added up, and then that's how you get the rating at the end. It's not very hard. It's not as hard as that accreditation system they came up with. It's pretty simple. It is an extra step because if it were all the same, right, it's much easier to come up with the final score. This involves more math because you got to multiply the
That's
points
basic
by
math
the
in
weight.
a Google Doc or an Excel doc. And do it for us.
Exactly.
And
You
that's
set it
not
up and
really
it does it for you.
This can we move the 0.25 to standard?
Standard 6.
Yeah,
Make that
from 6 to
0.75.
where to go?
Culturally
Three.
responsible and
To 3.
equitable.
To 3.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
So you're 1.25 through the first 4, 1.
Right.
75, 1.25, 2.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, of course, there's also standard 5 communication and community relations, but you know, again, we don't have a lot of
That's right. That's the
leeway.
worst-
Yeah.
least way
Yeah.
all right, behind the ball already.
Can you explain a little bit more about the range of scores? Like if we judge him highly effective, but then there's a score range of 35 to 40, do we have
Highly
to
effective,
specify? Oh,
yeah.
I see what it says.
You
That's the
see-
result.
Okay. never mind.
Yeah.
And you can give me a highly effective minus or plus too, so that's.
Okay,
Highly
sorry.
effective plus.
Thank you.
You know,
Well, I commend you on what you've done and making this simplifying.
Trying,
Certainly
yes.
over what we were working with.
Yeah.
And, this is more than a good start. This is I believe, an opportunity to move it forward quickly and have it in place.
It's a lot of work for me, I
well,
think.
thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate that,
Yeah,
Mr. Bott. I appreciate.
well, it's,
Yeah, and I think that as part of the discussion, right, to wrap it up, I would ask the opportunity for the board to discuss what performance indicators should be applied to student achievement. That's standard 8. And certainly it's very important to get the feedback. That's where I feel like we need to get that feedback, right? What's feasible, what's not. And we are in our own lane. I mean, thank God that we are in a division. And Dr. Nichols, you pointed this out before. We are at a level now where we can, right? The sky's the limit, but we also have to be weary that, you know, we don't want to put on too many demands all at once for the staff, the teachers, et cetera. But we are in our own lane and we can decide what that looks like. But certainly it has to be with the input of Mr. Miller, the teachers, Dr. Nichols, because they're the professionals.
All right, anybody else have any input on this matter? We'll move on the agenda. All right, final item is proposed policy change for a policy review committee. Mr. Dombrowski, the floor is yours.
I wonder if we could take a 5-minute recess. So
How
that
about
we
a
can-
2-minute?
2 minutes, fine too. That's about all I need.
Yeah,
Thank
stretch.
you.
I appreciate that. I know that's a little long, but
well, it's
you know,
good.
to
It's
just
important.
hash it, yeah.
It's important.
hashing it out.
And I commend you. I know that was a laborious task.
And the
That wasn't easy.
jargon and everything and, you know.
Yeah, and if we could just find out if that language is set in stone by the BDOE,
Got it.
then,
All right,
Yeah, well, you're not supposed to.
you
have
can't figure out how to
instructions.
close the machine,
Oh,
so it's
sorry.
sorry, convo.
yep,
Right, thank you for
okay,
pointing that
excellent.
out.
Happy to be here.
Mhm.
Can I tell you how much I appreciate you sitting, all of you, just sitting here?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, my goodness.
Mhm.
We're here for him.
Yeah.
It's the best. Well, thanks.
Yeah, you should make it face you.
I didn't find a good way to save it. But I like that one I found. Oh, wait. There's a good one.
Yeah, but it's also the camera. Right, we're on camera over there.
That's working.
Oh, no, it's sticking. Oh, I can't have it.
Dr. Nichols?
It's working, yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
So pause. So that's the pause.
Give everybody
I don't know that really pauses.
This is our recommendation.
Pause the speaker.
Right, but it's so recording.
Hi, Joe.
You must have been a troublemaker in your family. No?
I was considered the black sheep, yes.
Where were you? Were you the middle child, the youngest? You definitely weren't the oldest. Ah.
Fine.
All right, recess is over. Mr. Brodsky, again, you're up.
Thank you.
Policy Review Committee.
I'm gonna say the word committee. But it's not as complicated as I think maybe the word committee entails. It doesn't have to be anyway. The main points is that policy is one of our main responsibilities as a school board. It's basically our chief. This is how we're supposed to govern. We govern by policy. So before I go any further, Dr. Nichols mentioned to me that he does have some information on what they've been doing based on the initial proposal made back in September.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a quick update.
Thank you.
So policies are live in board docs, off of draft and live.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So want to thank Ms. Davis, Mr. Terry, and even Mr. Hockman for working through the policy piece. So they've been working on a process to review policies and make sure that they're updated. So tonight, A, B, and C have all been reviewed and are up to date with what any version of this school board over the past decade has approved. So we are working through those, and I'm happy to bring those updates. There's a quick policy section in the board meeting. I'm happy to bring you an update monthly on where we are with that. It is our intent, although some of these policy sections bog down, to go through A through L and provide you with the comprehensive review that we're required every 3 to 5 years and make sure we're up to date. Furthermore, as new policies are put forward, I believe in December, we're coming with a first read of the policy series set. We have a specific timeline for them to be loaded into board docs. Now that we're up and running, it should be a lot easier. And then upon board action to be moved from draft into policy. So we feel like we have a really good system now. One, to make sure everything is updated and reviewed, and then to moving forward, make sure they continue to stay updated with each adoption from the school board. So we've worked through a kind of a policy flow chart protocol. Mr. Reimer would be very excited because we do have that flow chart and who's responsible for each section of it to make sure that everything is up to date. So as I stated, I'd be happy to provide that update as part of a regular series that we do. But A through C was the goal by tonight, and we cleared that late last week. So we're in D right now, but we are not finished with D to tell you that everything has been reviewed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the flow chart, you said Mr. Reimer has that?
No, Mr. Reimer always talks about is there a workflow? So we do have a workflow and who's responsible for each one. So
Okay.
that was his shout out tonight because that's typically a
Gotcha.
question he asks.
So some of my questions and concerns have arisen from the fact that per the standard quality number 7, all school board policies shall be reviewed at least every 5 years and revised as needed. And then there are a subset of policies that require either an annual review every 2 years or once every 3 years. And that is included on the handout I provided. And then in looking at them, they have dates on them, but many of them, the last date that it was revised is several years ago, but we don't know when it was last reviewed.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're going to do is add the review date to it.
Perfect.
Not technically required, but it does give greater clarification to when
Right.
it was reviewed and let you know when the next time it's due for a review. So
Right.
How could a policy be revised if it wasn't reviewed?
If it was reviewed, they're like, everything looks good. We don't have to change anything. Revised is, it was revised in some way, and that was the last time it was actually changed.
I
specific
got that. But
example-
what I'm saying is you can't change the policy and revise it if you haven't reviewed it. They go hand in hand.
Right, so I would say if it was revised as of a certain date, and that date was within the required timeline, great,
That's
it's
what I'm saying.
done.
Yeah.
So if it's,
You're just saying
If
for
it's-
those that aren't changed.
for those who haven't changed, but it's still showing a
Then you go
last
by review
revision
date.
date.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Right.
I'll give you a specific example. So, board member oath of office, last time that was revised was 2015. So not a lot's changed as far as your oath of office. But we've just reviewed it, so we need to tag that and reviewed, say.
Right.
December 2020, or no, it's actually not December, November 2025.
Yeah.
So that all of those.
That
have
makes sense.
tag.
Just so it shows that it's in compliance.
I get it.
and,
So more clerical on our.
Right. And then I included some sample policy matters that I felt needed to be addressed. So the first one, BDD, electronic participation in school board meetings. This is supposed to be reviewed annually, which I believe the VSBA provides us with an updated policy, which they did in May 2024. But the update to that policy, which actually includes additional information, isn't reflected on the board docs.
Yeah, and that's really the process that we're going through, is to make sure that what you've approved is the updated version on there.
So when you say that they've gone through ABC, have they addressed those matters, or is it just something that will be all uploaded?
They're addressing them as they go, as long as it is a policy the board has approved. We're not going to change anything that you guys or that the
Right.
school board has not approved.
Right.
That we feel comfortable uploading that policy because it was approved. So through
So-
the process of the review, those will also be updated.
So right now, I looked today and BDD
It's
Is
still the
n-
same one.
is still the same one. It's not the one that we approved in May.
Right.
Also, BDDG, the minutes, it still shows it's not updated with the policy that we
Mhm.
approved.
Mhm.
And BDF, the one that says all division policies will be reviewed at least every 5 years and revised as needed. There's no indication when it was last reviewed, and it was last revised in 2013.
Okay.
That's just different things. BHB, school board member in-service activities, it references participation in school board conferences, workshops, and conventions conducted by the Virginia, and that's misspelled, sorry, National School Board Association as an appropriate kind of activity and service. That was last reviewed November 19th, 2012. And actually in 2021, the VSBA voted to end its membership with the National School Boards Association. So I'm assuming that somewhere out there's a policy that
That removes those.
has removed that and is maybe now, I don't know much about COSBA, but they're fairly new, I think about 2 years old. They're now associated with them. So it's just another policy update that needs to reflect that information. Moving past, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep us on track here, guys. So you guys are now talking about policies, but what's before the board tonight is whether we're establishing a review committee.
You're so right, sorry. Let's get back to that. So it sounds like essentially a committee has been created. And I just want to review some
Or
notes.
multiple. Are you doing it by department?
So there's the standing committee, which is the folks that I mentioned plus myself. But then like we're getting ready to go into D, that is completely Ms. Morehouse wheelhouse. So she will be providing that specific. Now, when we're talking about committee, like
So bringing in the requisite expert,
correct,
so to speak.
yes.
Got it.
Yes, sir. Because without that, we don't.
You're
know.
lost. Yeah.
You know, you need that subject matter expert in there.
Yeah.
So.
So I guess one of my main questions is once it goes through the process of being updated and approved and everything, when does it go into the policy manual online?
Ms. Davis?
As soon as I receive them, I'm going through them. So I get a chart with things and I'm gonna go back and, cause some things that were just changed like recently within the last year,
With, like,
because we were
DSBA.
doing the conversion. I'm gonna go
Behind
back and-
schedule.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and double check those, cause those weren't we have them on paper, but not updated into the. We're still in the process of updating some of those.
Okay. Cause that's just the concern is that we passed these things a while ago
And it should be reflected in policy.
and it's not reflected in policy, so it's hard to govern by policies that haven't been published. And that's just been my concern is
So
that,
should we create an action item for a future meeting with a timeline?
Well, be specific now in terms of saying like when we vote on a change or a new policy as to how long we expect that to be uploaded into the now digitized.
Well, two parts. One, what's being done now, what's the expectation of once it has been reviewed, like A, B, and C has been reviewed, the timeline in which we'll see that effectively all the changes, everything changed, new policy, revisions, everything for section A, B, C. A number of weeks or months or whatever it is, but to put that in place so that we have some timelines, so that we're not asking the same question 7 months from now.
Right.
Now that you've made the conversion to the policies on board docs,
Mhm.
the day after you vote on them, I will push them through.
But what I'm saying,
Talk
and
about the update.
But
Yeah.
the update,
The
yeah,
updates
I
will-
appreciate that, but we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4B policies that today, if I understand you right, have not been changed.
I would say we could do it in like 2 weeks. Of which. Some could go faster if there's no changes, but if you want to make a review date on every single policy.
No, well, yeah,
Yeah,
it has to have
So you have
it has to have a review date,
Yeah.
but and that's a separate issue. I'm
Right.
saying, what is the timeline and expectation that we, the board, have once you've gone through ABC, that we should see the outcome of that on board docs? That's what I'm asking.
Mhm.
And my other question is, I'm a little confused. We don't have to approve, so we just,
These have all been approved, Ms. Cooney. They're just
we-
not
they're
updated.
the
Nothing will be
VSBA
posted
ones that
was
we
not.
looked at.
Yes.
well, that, and then
whatever meeting we
also
looked at.
like Mr. Vought's, what was it called? Teaching about controversial issues.
Yes.
We changed that in July
That's
and
right.
it's still the old policy.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to
Yeah.
see if we shouldn't,
And that's an I, right?
yeah, that's down the road, but
But again, these things happened a while ago, so it's just, I want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. I
Yes.
understand that we had to go through the process of changing it, but it is concerning that it's been all this time and it's almost like we're governing on things that haven't actually been published.
yeah. So back to my point.
You're right, but it doesn't change the fact that those are the rules we established and we got to govern by those rules.
Right. And I understand that. It's just like, it's like trying to evaluate Dr. Nichols on something that he hasn't been fully informed of, just a little bit. Maybe
Or if
not
the
a fair.
community goes on board docs and looks at the
Mm.
policy.
They're like,
No,
why
I get that.
And they're saying, what the heck?
Yeah.
So and we can talk about this in the next, but I think it's worth at least putting on as an agenda item or something down the road, very soon to establish some sort of expectation.
Yes, sir.
Right. So back to the matter at hand. Establish of a school board policy review committee.
If they want additional assistance with this, and they're interested in us putting out feelers for somebody who might be interested in willing to volunteer their time and help, then I think at that point, we can do that. And it would be up to them. And then go from there. I don't know that we have, I don't think we have to at this point. My purpose in creating and advising for a committee was to help them because it's such a massive project.
Yeah.
And my understanding was Dr. Nichols was gonna try and get to it during the summer and then it gets busy. And so,
Yeah,
I
board
really-
docs didn't hold up their end of the deal on that one, but now that we're up, it is completely on us.
so I just wanted to offer a way of helping
Especially
that-
because it's one of our primary responsibilities, and I don't feel like I should abdicate that responsibility necessarily to them. They have got a lot on their plates. So
But they have to be involved.
I know, yeah. So if there was an easy way for us to be, obviously we can't all do it because at the same time, because that's considered a meeting, but there might be a way that we can take turns perhaps, or I don't know. But it's
Well, I
primarily
think
our
they
responsibility.
incorporated, I think they incorporated in some of the teaching interns and others. Isn't that what has happened?
That was more formatting.
Yeah, that was the
That was the
formatting.
formatting?
Yes, sir.
Could we do the same? Are there any, is there anyone available in that range or category that could come in if you need it? You may, I mean, if it's not needed, it's not needed, but if it is, what can we do? How can we
Well,
help?
Haney and I were just talking, maybe we need a retreat or something where we just. like
Concentrate on that?
ourselves up and-
Yeah.
And get that done.
And I'm just love policies now. I'd be happy to come in and help where I can. But, cause there's, some of them are very simple, but some of them have
Yeah.
detailed information that are we implementing these?
I think you're pulling the top off of a can that I don't care to go down and address right now
Okay.
until we have them established and revised and then at some point, yes, let's go back and,
You're right.
but I
My,
think that's a whole,
sure. I guess my point was like in the FOIA request, it still lists Mila Hall as the contact. So it's,
What is that?
it's, I looked on it today unless my computer's not right.
It has inaccurate, outdated information.
yeah. So that's why I'm saying when we discuss this to determine and establish timelines, all of those things need to be included.
You should have accurate policies that you have approved, and
Yes.
that needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. Thank you. So would, Ms. Dombrowski, would it be satisfactory to leave it as if Dr. Nichols and anyone involved needs additional help, they'll contact us? And at that point, if we have those of us who would be available to help, then we,
And then if you could provide us at the next meeting or the second next meeting, an update as to where you're at on that and
Actually, can that be added as an agenda item? Because it's gonna take a little time and at least we could feel like we could check off, okay, we've done this part. We provide an update, so we make sure we're all on the same page here. We don't wanna discover things down the line. And another set of eyes is good to have, but
Well, to your point, I think that's a way that we accomplish our duty under SQ7. It says all school board policies shall be reviewed at least every 5 years and revised as needed. It doesn't necessarily say by who, and it doesn't necessarily say it has to be us, right? We're able to delegate some of our responsibilities with retaining that oversight function that we have as school board members and as a body, right? I think in reviewing the policies and largely their day-to-day operations that affect the people that live and breathe and work these things every single day, they are the best people to review them on our behalf. And then if they come to us with updates that we can, I'm not gonna say rubber stamp, but review and approve and or make changes if we need to, or, we see a policy we don't like, then it's on us to bring it before ourselves as an item of consideration. So we have the ability, to make the changes we want. If they're doing it and A, B, and C are done, Dr. Nichols, then maybe it does become a regular thing on the agenda. And now all of us as a group are reviewing the policies, public facing, meeting our requirement under SQ7. We don't need a formal community. We don't need to get in their way, and slow the process down. There's a ton of
it
policies,
is.
but the timing of it, I think, is what I'm hearing from everybody. So establishing hey, we just made a change. It needs to be up, Madam Clerk, within 7 days. I mean, I think that's very reasonable. And she says she can get it done in 1. So giving her 7, I think, works, right? All the other stuff, albeit the technology issues with getting board docs up and running seem to be resolved now. So this shouldn't be an issue going forward. Let's just clean up what's behind us. And then the fact that you identified these is awesome, and we need to get these fixed. And as soon as we do that, I feel like we're in a good position, and then the team can finish their review, keep updating us, and we rock and roll.
Unless anyone else has anything else to say, I'm good.
Thank you.
Just for clarification on our part, so section C, I apologize. So under school board goal reviews and updates, C is always policy review and revision. I can just provide you, I'm already rolling at that point anyway, provide you a quick update on where we are. So that could be standard. So I can go, okay, A, B, and C have been reviewed and they're all in there. So I can
Thank
do
you.
that.
I
Right.
think that would be very.
That keeps
helpful.
us on a schedule.
Yes.
When I'm on a schedule, everybody else stays on a
Yeah,
schedule. So.
and then
It
maybe just
fulfills our
kinda like
responsibilities.
how things are going and.
Mhm.
Yep.
I don't know if you
And
have,
what to expect by the next time, that way you can
Mhm.
hold us accountable for the
perfect,
January meeting.
Well, by that token, I mean, because of our duty, it would help if there's a policy that you think needs attention or that's outdated, or we need to change and vote on, bringing that to us at that same time.
Yeah.
You know, if it falls in A, B, and C, then maybe that's the perfect time to bring it. This way we're doing bite-sized chunks,
Okay,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then when we're done with that, right, if it's reviewed and then approved by the school board and we're putting that date on there at that meeting.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning, there's an unstated serious concern that we are where we are with this. What has been accomplished and what hasn't been accomplished and
Right.
with what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski, for that work.
Yep.
Mhm.
Anybody else have anything, comments, questions, concerns? All right, no action items. Next meeting of the school board will be Tuesday, December 2nd, in 2 weeks. This will be our regular monthly meeting. Can't get enough of you guys. The meeting will be held at the historic courthouse in this boardroom, and we'll begin with the closed session at 5:30, followed by the open session at 6. The meeting is adjourned at 7:46 PM.
Ah. Okay.
Miss Davis, let us
Thank
know.
you,
when
Why
guys.
it's called the
Hold
work
on.
session.
Hold on,
Thank you,
hold on.
guys.
Miss Davis, let us know when it's turned off, please.
you get a little bit more of a break from.